Unlike the complementary horde-based modes in games like Gears of War or Call of Duty, Killing Floor 2 attempts to satisfy its consumers with a sole focus on a horde survival-based experience. It's understandable then that gamers might look at Killing Floor 2 with skepticism when other titles arguably offer much more. However, if it's a purely cooperative survival experience that you're after, there's few better than Killing Floor 2. Obvious competition comes from Call of Duty's Nazi zombie mode, and to which there are a number of similarities and distinctions. Both are cooperative zombie survival games, tasking you to fight off zombies or Zeds in Killing Floor 2 across a variety of maps, but for the most part that's really where the similarities end. Instead of being a simple endless survival, Killing Floor 2 tasks players to survive until a certain wave. This in itself shifts the gameplay dynamics away from finding a gameplay strategy that's infinitely sustainable and towards finding a strategy that's efficient at fending off the number of waves required. While survival in Call of Duty zombie mode typically results in kiting around a particular route as a solo player, Killing Floor 2 is a little more dynamic. A wide variety of Zeds with a diverse set of attack patterns that may feature in any number of combinations across any particular wave, force players to adapt to dynamic challenges presented in each individual match. Crawlers and runners outmatch your speed, forcing you to confront them immediately, while larger enemies reinforce the game's more strategic components, requiring a coordinated effort between you and your teammates and the selective engagement of individual targets. It's tactical, and successfully surviving each map feels rewarding. Cementing all of this is the game's class-based system, with each class awkwardly referred to as a perk. These classes have diverse gameplay styles, and many facilitate cooperative play. Certain classes can repair broken doors, dispense ammunition, or heal allies, while many others are just focused on dishing out damage in different ways. The Firebug, for instance, possesses a flamethrower that's great for dishing out damage to a large group of enemies, whereas the Sharpshooter possesses a railgun which does an incredible amount of damage to an individual target. These weapons and abilities aren't for the most part unique to each perk however, but rather the perks represent a specialization towards a particular set of skills and weapons capable of demonstrating enhanced efficiency when they're used with that particular perk. So that doesn't mean you're locked into a particular playstyle because you selected a particular perk. You can use a variety of abilities or weapons. Ultimately, this system encourages cooperative play, balancing teams between healers and tanky frontline classes, defending particular choke points, sealing doors. The class-based system facilitates the tactical gameplay that makes Killing Floor 2 rewarding, and perhaps the best horde mode on the market. Unfortunately, this class-based system isn't without its downsides, however. Many of the more damage-dealing classes don't really feel that they synergize that well with anything in particular, lacking personality and feeling more like a weapon loadout than a particular class, with a clear ability or focus that's unique to your selection. Meanwhile, leveling up the classes can be a chore, with matches taking 20 to 60 minutes, and you only get a certain amount of experience per game, usually amounting to 1 or 2 levels. What this means is that you can often spend several hours at a time without seeing any meaningful progression of your character. You only get an ability unlock every 5 levels, so spending 2 or 3 hours to unlock a new ability isn't altogether uncommon. Despite this, Killing Floor's definitive highlight is really its gunplay. The weapons in Killing Floor 2 feature brilliant reload animations and incredible feedback as you dish death to the Zeds pursuing you. You'll find yourself literally devastating Zeds with weapons like the double barrel shotgun or railgun. There's just an incredible sense of feedback provided as Zeds fly apart, dismembered and defeated. Even more traditional weapons like the SWAT class's SMGs shred through enemy hordes with incredible satisfaction. When something so simple as firing a weapon is made into something special, it tremendously enhances your experience with the rest of the game. Surviving feels visceral and intense. Unloading your dual-wield Desert Eagles in a desperate attempt to force your way through a zombie horde and survive offers an unparalleled moment of gameplay. Killing Floor 2 demonstrates that this attention to smaller details really makes a difference at a gameplay level, and it does that in a big way. Despite this, underneath the cooperative gameplay, the class-based systems, the multitude of enemy types and difficulty settings, Killing Floor 2 can't escape the fact that it ultimately boils down to spending hours on end shooting the same 8 or so enemy variations. The game's classes add variety, and the game isn't shy of its tactical components, but one match is always liable to be fundamentally similar to the next. Difficulty modes and map variety do a decent job of helping reduce any sense of repetition, however, as each map presents a new strategic opportunity, and difficulty settings which introduce new enemies and attack patterns facilitate continual adaptation. Unlike the Zeds you slay, Killing Floor 2 isn't brainless. You're constantly on your toes thinking about the best location to defend, which targets to prioritise, and how to best assist your teammates. If you do manage to survive all of the waves thrown at you, you'll also be presented with a boss fight. These formidable foes require teamwork and considerable coordination to beat, capable of quickly killing any players that don't successfully evade their attack patterns. Fighting against the game's bosses adds a completely new dynamic to the round and requires its own strategic adaptation should you want to succeed. These fights are genuinely enjoyable, but it's undeniably disappointing that the game only features 2 boss fights, which is hopefully an area Tripwire plan on expanding on in the future. In addition to the basic survival-orientated mode, Killing Floor 2 also features Versus Survival, where one team plays as various enemies on the side of the Zeds, and another team plays as the humans. This mode is a little less polished than the similar offering Left 4 Dead, but still manages to be enjoyable in its own right. Playing as the Zeds adds a completely new strategic element to the experience as you attempt to coordinate and take down enemy humans, and surviving as the humans feels appropriately more intense when there's more than artificial intelligence on the opposing team. Sadly, playing as the Zeds isn't quite as in-depth as playing as the humans. Although there are still elements of coordination and strategy, these are notably reduced by the fact that you don't select what you spawn in as. Spawning in as the smaller and weaker zombies isn't especially interesting and doesn't last very long, as the players are easily capable of almost one-shotting you just as they do with the regular Zeds. While the Zeds typically win, it often feels a little mindless, continually running only to be slaughtered yet dealing a little damage, making them weaker for the next time you spawn in. That isn't to say it isn't enjoyable once in a while. It's a nice change of pace, and playing as the humans is a real treat because of how the human-played Zeds give the game a really unpredictable feel. It's just a shame that the Zeds aren't as interesting to players as they could be. It also doesn't help matters that you don't earn anything for playing as the Zeds, so it often feels as if you're wasting your time when you're not playing as one of the classes, where you see meaningful progress. Visually, Killing Floor 2 is quite impressive. Running on the PlayStation 4 Pro, the game appeared to maintain a solid 60 frames per second with a crisp visual style. The Zeds themselves are well modelled, and the dismemberment looks convincing rather than goofy. Some players may dislike the almost comical presentation of the mutated Zeds, however, as they don't possess a serious or intimidating tone of the more sinister Walking Dead style zombies. Ultimately, those looking for a horde survival game really need look no further. Killing Floor 2 is a relatively undisputed king of the albeit niche genre. Its sole focused on horde-based modes affords far greater gameplay diversity than is typical, and to put it simply, blasting apart Zeds in and of itself is a ton of fun. The game isn't without its issues. Class progression is sluggish, and over time matches can become repetitive, but for the most part the 6-player cooperative gameplay, wide variety of weapons and abilities, and inclusion of a versus mode really helps keep the experience feeling fresh.